My phone was shaking in my hand when the school nurse called. I could hear the worry in her voice before she even finished her sentence. She said my daughter Emily had a high fever. She was pale. She kept asking for me. My heart dropped straight into my stomach. I looked at the clock at work. I was stuck. No car. No way to leave right away. My hands started to sweat and my chest felt tight. All I could think about was Emily sitting alone in that small nurse's room, scared, sick, and waiting. I did the only thing I could think of. I called my mom. Her name is Linda. She picked up after the third ring. I didn't even say hello properly. I just begged. I told her Emily was sick and needed to be picked up now. I told her I couldn't get there fast enough. My voice was shaking and I hated that she could hear how desperate I was. There was a pause. Then she sighed, like I was annoying her. She said, "I'm busy today. I already have plans." I froze. I asked her what plans could be more important than her granddaughter being sick. That's when I heard it. In the background, my dad's voice. My dad, Robert, laughed. Not a small laugh. Not an awkward one. A real laugh. Like this was funny. Like my fear was entertainment. He said, "Kids get sick all the time. She live." That laugh cut deeper than any insult. My hands started to shake harder. I felt something crack inside my chest, slow and painful. I said, "Please, Mom, she's only 6. Linda's voice went cold. "You chose to be a single mom. You need to handle your own problems." Then she hung up. I stood there staring at my phone, feeling stupid for thinking family would help me. I went into the bathroom at work and cried quietly so no one would hear me. I wiped my face, took a deep breath, and somehow figured out another way to get Emily home. It took too long. Way too long. When I finally reached her, Emily was burning up. Her eyes were tired and her little voice was weak. She held my hand tight and whispered, "Mommy, I was scared." I smiled for her. I told her everything was okay. But inside, I wasn't okay at all. That night, after I put her to bed, I sat alone in the dark. I kept hearing my dad's laugh in my head, over and over. I realized something in that moment. That laugh changed how I saw my parents forever, and I didn't know it yet. But a day would come when they would need me, and I would remember exactly how this felt. The next morning, Emily's fever was still there. Not as high, but enough to scare me. I called in sick to work and sat beside her bed, wiping her forehead with a cool cloth. Every time she slept, I watched her chest rise and fall, afraid it might stop. That fear stayed in my body like a heavy stone. My parents didn't call. Not that day. Not the next. No message asking how Emily was. No apology. No shame. Just silence. I tried to tell myself they were busy. I tried to make excuses for them, like I always had. But deep down, I knew the truth. If Emily were my brother's child, they would have run to the school without thinking. I had seen it before. I had lived it my whole life. Growing up, I was always the strong one. It's the one who didn't need help. When I cried, my mom Linda said I was dramatic. When I asked my dad Robert for support, he joked it away. They loved me. They said, just not loudly. Not softly either. When I became a mother, I thought things would change. I thought Emily would soften them. For a while, it looked like it did. They bought her gifts, took pictures, posted smiles online. But when it came to real help, real sacrifice, they disappeared. A few days later, Linda finally called. Her voice was cheerful, like nothing had happened. She talked about her garden, about a neighbor's new car. I waited. I waited for her to ask about Emily. She never did. Finally, I said it. Emily was really sick. So there was a pause. Then she said, "Well, kids bounce back fast." That was it. No, I'm sorry. No, I should have come. My hands started to shake again, just like that day at work. I asked her calmly, "Why did Dad laugh?" She sighed, annoyed. "You're holding on to things too much." He didn't mean anything by it, but he did. And so did she. After that call, something changed in me. I stopped reaching out. I stopped sharing updates. I stopped pretending everything was fine. It wasn't a loud decision. It was quiet, heavy, final dot. Emily got better. Slowly, one night she asked me, "Mommy, do Grandma and Grandpa love me?" I swallowed hard. I pulled her close and said, "They do. But sometimes people don't know how to show love the right way." She nodded, trusting me. That trust broke my heart and healed it at the same time. Late at night when the house was quiet, I thought about everything. About how often I had shown up for my parents. How many times I had helped them without question. And how, when I needed them the most. They laughed. That was when I realized something painful but clear. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done begging. And somewhere deep inside me, a line was being drawn. I didn't know when they would cross it, but I knew if they did, things would never be the same. Life didn't slow down after that. It never does. Bills still came. Work still demanded more than I had. Emily still needed me for everything. But something inside me had shifted, like a door quietly closing. I stopped calling my parents just to check in. I stopped sending pictures of Emily eating breakfast or drawing at school. At first it felt strange, like I was doing something wrong. Guilt crept in at night and whispered that I was being cruel. That family should forgive and forget. But then I remembered my dad's laugh. I remembered my mom's sigh, and the guilt faded. A week passed. Then two. My parents noticed the distance, but instead of asking why, they complained. Linda texted me things like, "You've been very distant lately," or "We never see Emily anymore." There was still no apology, just blame. One afternoon, Linda showed up at my door unannounced. I hadn't invited her. Emily was coloring on the floor when she walked in. My mom smiled wide like everything was normal. She said, "Why didn't you tell me Emily was sick last week?" I stared at her, my hands clenched at my sides. I said, "I did. You said you were busy." She waved her hand like it was nothing. That was different. Different. That word hit me hard. I asked her quietly, what if I hadn't figured it out? What if Emily was alone longer? She looked uncomfortable, then annoyed. "You always take things too far." That was the moment I knew. They didn't see me. They didn't see Emily. They only saw inconvenience. After she left, I sat on the couch and cried. Not loud, just tears sliding down my face while Emily leaned against me. I felt tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. That night, I made a promise to myself. I wrote it down in my phone so I wouldn't forget when emotions got messy. I will never beg for help again from people who laugh at my pain. Days later, my dad, Robert, called. His tone was casual, joking, like always. He asked why I was being so sensitive lately. I finally said what I had been holding in. I said, "You laughed when my daughter was sick." There was silence. Then he said, "You're still on that?" Yes, I was. I hung up without saying goodbye. From that day on, I started planning my life differently. Not revenge. Not anger. Preparation. I saved more. I leaned on friends instead of family. I built a small support system that didn't judge me or my child. And somewhere along the way, I realized something powerful. I didn't need them as much as they thought. I was stronger than the girl they dismissed. And life has a strange way of testing that strength. Because not long after that, the phone rang again. This time, they weren't calling to criticize. They were calling because they needed me. The call came on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. Emily was doing her homework at the kitchen table, humming softly to herself. I remember that sound clearly because it stopped the moment my phone started ringing. When I saw my mom's name on the screen, my chest tightened. For a second, thought about letting it ring, but I answered. Linda's voice was different this time. No cheer, no small talk. She sounded rushed, almost scared. She said my dad, Robert, had just come back from a minor surgery. Nothing life-threatening, she said quickly, like she didn't want me to think it was serious. But then she added the real reason she was calling. Their car had broken down. They had a follow-up appointment the next morning, early, important, and they had no one else to take them. She paused, waiting for me to jump in. To say, "Of course, Mom, I'll be there instead. There was silence. Finally, she said, we need a ride. The words sat between us, heavy and uncomfortable. My heart started beating fast. Not from fear this time, from memory. I saw Emily's pale face. I heard my dad's laugh. I felt that bathroom floor at work under my feet again. I asked calmly, what time is the appointment? Linda sounded relieved. 8. Thank you. I knew you'd help. I didn't say yes. I said, I'll think about it. That caught her off guard. She cleared her throat. There's nothing to think about. We're family. Family. After we hung up, I sat at the table and stared at nothing. Emily looked up at me and asked, Mommy, are you okay? I smiled and nodded. But inside, a storm was forming. That night, I barely slept. Not because I didn't know what to do, but because I did, and it scared me. I wasn't planning revenge the way movies show it. No shouting. No drama. Just a choice. A quiet one. In the morning, Linda called again. More pressure this time. She said, your father can't miss this appointment. I thought you cared. That sentence hurt. Because I did care. Just not the way she wanted. I took a deep breath and said, I care about my daughter. She has school. I have work. I'm busy. There it was. The same word she used on me. Busy. She went silent. Then her voice turned sharp. So you're really doing this? I said, doing what? Punishing us. I closed my eyes. No, Mom. I'm treating you the same way you treated me. She started to cry. Or maybe she wanted me to think she was crying. Robert took the phone and laughed again, trying to make light of it. That laugh didn't break me this time. It freed me. I said one last thing before hanging up. When Emily was sick, you told me to figure it out. So, figure it out. I ended the call with shaking hands. I cried afterward hard, because it hurt to say no. But it hurt less than betraying myself again. I didn't know how this would change everything. I only knew there was no going back now. The rest of that day felt strange. Quiet but loud inside my head. Every sound in the house felt sharper. The clock ticking. Emily turning pages in her book. Even my own breathing felt heavy. I kept asking myself if I had gone too far. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Linda. I never thought my own daughter would abandon us. My hands trembled as I read it. That word again, abandon. Like I was the one who had walked away first. Like they hadn't left me alone when my child was sick and scared. I didn't reply a few minutes later. Another message came in. This time from my dad. Robert, you're being childish. Grow up. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I put the phone face down on the table. For the first time in my life, I didn't rush to defend myself. I didn't explain. I didn't apologize for feelings that were real. That night, Emily crawled into my bed. She wrapped her arms around me and said, Mommy, you're warm. I like when you're here. I held her close and something settled in my chest. A calm I hadn't felt in years. The next few days were tense. My parents told other family members their version of the story. I started getting calls and messages saying things like, they're old, or you only get one set of parents, or you should be the bigger person. Every message felt like a small cut, but none of them asked about Emily, not one. A week later, Linda showed up again. This time she didn't knock. She walked in like she owned the place. Her eyes were red, her mouth tight. She said, Are you happy now? I looked at her and realized something shocking. I wasn't angry. I said calmly, I'm tired. She started listing everything she had done for me growing up. Food, clothes, a roof. Like love was a debt I still owed. I let her finish. Then I said, when my daughter needed you, you said you were busy. When I needed you, you laughed. I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting myself. Her face changed. Not soft, not sorry. Just confused. Like she didn't understand that her actions had consequences. Robert stayed in the car that day. He didn't even come inside. After that, the visits stopped. The calls slowed. The silence came back, but this time it felt different. It felt chosen. I started to feel lighter. Not because it didn't hurt, it did, but because I wasn't carrying their weight anymore. I was showing Emily something important. That love doesn't mean accepting pain over and over again. One evening, Emily asked me, "Mommy, why don't we see Grandma and Grandpa much?" I knelt down and looked her in the eyes. I said, sometimes adults make choices that hurt people. And sometimes the bravest thing we can do is step back. She nodded slowly, like she understood more than her age allowed. That was when I knew. The revenge wasn't saying no. The revenge was choosing peace. And the story wasn't over yet. Months passed after that. Real months. The kind where seasons change quietly and life keeps moving whether you're ready or not. Emily grew taller. Her laughter filled the house again. I found a better rhythm at work. We built a routine that didn't depend on anyone else showing up. My parents became distant figures. Not gone, just. Far away, Linda sent a message once, short and careful. She said, "Your father is doing better." I replied, "I'm glad." Nothing more. Nothing less. There was no apology. No deep talk. No moment where everything suddenly made sense. And for a long time, I waited for one. I thought closure had to come from them. I was wrong. One evening, Emily and I were sitting on the couch, watching her favorite movie. She rested her head on my shoulder and said, "Mommy, you always come when I need you." That sentence hit me harder than any argument ever could. I realized something then. This story was never really about my parents. It was about me. About the little girl I used to be who learned early to stay quiet, to accept less, to believe love had conditions. And it was about the mother I chose to become. I used to think strength meant enduring pain, staying silent, keeping the peace. Now I know strength means stopping the cycle. I didn't scream at my parents. I didn't insult them. I didn't do anything illegal or cruel. I simply matched their energy. And in doing that, found myself again. I learned that family isn't just about blood. It's about care. Showing up. Taking fear seriously. Protecting the smallest hearts in the room. If someone laughs when your child is hurting, that tells you everything you need to know. Emily will grow up knowing this, that her pain matters. That her voice matters. That love should never feel like begging. As for my parents, they made their choices, and I made mine. I chose peace. I chose boundaries. I chose my daughter. And yes, when they needed a ride and I said no, it changed everything. Not because it was revenge, but because it was truth. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop explaining. Stop hoping. Stop waiting for people to become who they never were. If you're listening to this and you've ever been hurt by family, if you've ever felt small, dismissed, or laughed at when you needed help the most, know this. You're not wrong for protecting yourself. You're not cruel for choosing peace. And you are not alone. If this story made you feel something, take a moment to sit with it. And if it helped you in any way, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Your story matters too.